First, I'd like to say, I think we can all go home now. I don't have to say anything because Heartbeam is so spectacular. Thank you, thank you. You're so wonderful. I thought, okay, they already did the whole service, thank you. So good morning, Brentwood family. I'm so happy to be here. I've had a little bit of a whirlwind weekend, and it's really nice to be here with my family, Brentwood family. So thank you, thank you, thank you. So what we're talking about today, you know, Spirit sends me these titles always in the middle of the night, always like 4 a.m. Spirit, could you get me on a different time zone so it's not 4 a.m., could it be 4 p.m.? However, it usually comes about 3:30 or 4 a.m. And today what title came through me is Beaming the Light of Awareness, okay? And we beam it on low beam, medium beam, and high beam. And we all do. And you know, when I learned to drive was in the 60s? Yeah. So, you know, that's when instead of having a little click thing like we have in our car to get to high beam where you had to step on the little button, you know, and when I learned it was like, okay, step on that button. I learned to drive from my father, who had 4 daughters and 1 son, who really didn't want to teach us to drive, but our mother said no. It was his responsibility, and I can still hear in my head sometimes, okay, step harder on that, Verona, step harder on that. So then when it came to me, it was like, oh yeah, we have these same things in life. So, but one of the things, and it gave me a good memory. My father has been on the other side, 10 years? Yeah, so it gave me a really good memory and something funny to laugh at myself and with myself about, because of the siblings, I was the hardest one to teach how to drive, and I'm not sure what that's about, and I'm not going to put anything on it. I was, but obviously I know how now I got here today. Anyway, we're talking about awareness. That's the topic this month. So I looked up awareness, of course, because definitions make a difference if we're all in the same groove, so to speak. And the definition I found for awareness that spoke to me, there was a lot, but the one that spoke to me says, awareness is having knowledge, consciousness, comprehension, discernment, and perception. Those are a lot. Yeah, those are a lot. However, they all kind of melt together like that, at least in my mind they do. And then I decided to look up, because my dictionary has a thesaurus too, I decided to look up the antonym for this. And the antonym for awareness was ignorance and unconsciousness. So when we think of awareness or choosing to not have awareness, we can go to either side. We can go to the perception side, or we can go to the unconsciousness side. So then I thought, okay, so what is it when we're beaming the low beam of awareness? So beaming the low beam of awareness came to me, and you guys understand this quite clearly, it's autopilot. Okay, and I think everybody in the audience might know, but if you don't know, I was a flight attendant for a very, very long time. And I'm not giving away any secrets. However, the computer is flying the airplane a good amount of the time on a long haul, not on a short haul. But a flight that's more than 10, 12 hours, the computer is flying the airplane a good amount of the time because it's a long haul and the pilots, there's one relief pilot, and so there's 3 of them flying the plane, and the relief pilot is sleeping and they rotate and things. However, the autopilot is a very important part of getting the airplane from point A to point B. And that's what initially came to me, because that was my life. However, the other thing, I don't use it in my car, but cruise control. Okay, we all have cruise control in our cars. I really don't drive long distances. This is the farthest I drive from Oakland. But, you know, we can use cruise control in our car for safety, for, I guess, for relaxation. I'm not really quite sure because I don't use it. However, that sort of thing, when we're beaming the low beam, it's just when we're on kind of on autopilot, and we can beam the low beam in everyday activities. You know, I am so blessed I don't have a dishwasher, and I say that, no pun intended, because it gives me an opportunity when I wash my dishes to be in a state of deep consciousness, okay? Actually, it gives me an opportunity also to even be aware of the cleansingness that I'm doing to the dishes, that all sorts of things that are happening while I'm just standing there. So that's kind of an autopilot thing for me, even though I really do. I turn on some symphonic music, and really when I wash my dishes, that's one of my rituals. which I did this morning before I came here, and that's kind of autopilot, you know, it's just like I'm in it, I'm doing it. Actually, it's by rote. So when we're beaming the low beam, a lot of times we're beaming that low beam of awareness because we're doing things by rote. And if we don't have things that we do by rote, we couldn't make it through life. I mean, there are all sorts of things we need to do that we automatically do that happen to us. Ooh, is that a noise from Spirit? Huh? Spirit's saying, hey, everybody, we're all here together. Yeah, I love that. Anyway, so that's what it came to me as the low beam. And then the medium beam is something that all of us in here, by virtue of the fact that we are here, we're beaming that medium beam because it came to me as becoming cognizant of the activities of Spirit within. So that medium beam is when we know that Spirit is doing something within us. Spirit itself is acting as us. It's, you know, something is happening, and that's when we're beaming the medium beam of awareness. And the other thing is when we do what we all do here, read books about enlightenment, go to workshops, we participate in our expansion, that's beaming the medium beam of Spirit. That's what came to me. And also when we remember who and whose we are, which we all know what that means. Who we are is the divinity of Spirit itself. Walking, talking, breathing, all these things. We're the manifest body of God. And whose we are, we belong to Spirit. Each one of us really belongs to Spirit, and we belong to each other. Because as I look out here, first, Ron, I want to say you did a spectacular job. And as I look out here, what made me say that is, when I look at Ron, I'm looking at the face of God. Yes, so I know who and whose I am, and I know who and whose he is, and that we are inextricably interconnected in the oneness. Yeah. So that's what came to me as the medium beam. So the high beam, you know, the really high beam, what came is when we are committed to our spiritual practices first. Okay, and when we are committed to our spiritual practices on a regular basis. Not hodgepodge, not just catch can, but we were really committed to our spiritual practices. Whatever the spiritual practices are. There's a myriad of spiritual practices. Prayer, meditation, journaling, visioning, lots of spiritual practices. And we get to choose which ones speak to us. And also it's not mandatory that we do all of them all the time. However, when you're really, really committed to spiritual practices, even committed in a way that I had instance recently, and my children, they know me, and so I was sitting down to do my meditation one morning, and my son knocked on my bedroom door. And I don't put a sign up anymore. When they were little kids, I used to put a sign up, in meditation, don't knock. So I just said to him, I'm in meditation, you know, and he, of course, said, oh, Mom, sorry, but I'm having, and I said, no, what you are having is what you are having, but it's not something to stop my meditation. Whatever's going on, whatever you need my help with, it can wait 20 to 30 minutes while I'm doing my meditation. So, and he's my child, I love him, and because I have that maternal thing, I think, oh yeah, I can solve this, everything that's happening for him. That's my own humanness thinking, which is not true at all, because we're all on our own journey. But that's what I mean by being committed to our spiritual practices, okay? Really, really committed to spiritual practices, because there's all sorts of things that can throw us off or pull us away, but when we're really highly committed to our spiritual practices. That's the first way to shine the high beam. And the second way to shine the high beam is openness to transformation. If we're really open to transformation, which is not an easy activity, you know, openness to transformation means that we get to release that has maybe served us right up into this very moment and step off the edge into that which is awaiting serving us, you know, and that's a piece of work. I mean, it really is, because in our humanness, sometimes we believe that what's happening is because of our doing versus our being, you know, and there's a real distinction, doing and being. We can do a lot of things. We can be a lot into the busy work of life, and or we can be in the beingness of life. Just sit still in the silence and be in the beingness of life. Or even the beingness of life is not the silence. I have a dear friend, her name is Lynette Sykes, and she's on the other side too, and she used to always say, we would talk on the phone and hang out together and things like that, and she would say, you know, she would ask this question all the time we were together, are we in the beingness or the doingness? Are we in the beingness or the doingness? And so that I love that question, because it gives each one of us an opportunity to say to ourselves, am I in the beingness or the doingness? Because sometimes the doingness can grab us and take us under. I mean, for me, I'm going to speak from the I. The doingness can grab me and take me under because I was raised to be productive. I was raised to get things done. I was raised to, and in the family of origin where I was raised because of what my parents had experienced in life, I was also raised because I'm an African American woman. I was also raised to do your best and do better than everyone else. Because if you don't do better than everyone else, you don't get a chance. You do not get a seat at the table unless you do better than everyone else. So I was raised with a very strong ethic of productiveness and doing this. However, it does behoove each one of us to be in a place of, am I in the doing or am I in the being? Because sometimes the being means allowing spirit to work it out, allowing spirit to make it happen, and just know that I can't make this happen. Just accept I can't make this happen, and that's all there is to it. It's spirit that's the doing. You know, you often hear people say, probably I know myself, Reverend Joan, Reverend TJ, the how of things has nothing to do with us. The how is none of my business. The how is spirit's business. Mine is to be in the beingness of spirit. Okay, be in the beingness of who's and what I am. So that's one other way to shine the high beam, but this is really what came up this week in my life. The best way to shine the high beam is to take responsibility. Okay, so I'm going to share something with you that just happened like 24 hours ago. Okay, in the taking responsibility and shining the high beam of awareness. So over at Agape Bay Area, which is where I am the staff minister, we had a big gala weekend fundraiser. And Jan was there with us, yay! And it was Reverend Dr. Michael Bernard Beckwith, who is the founder of Agape International Spiritual Center in LA, and we are an affiliate of that. He came Friday evening for a gala, and then yesterday for a gala. Okay, well, it was wonderful and marvelous. So yesterday I was one of the co-facilitators of that, okay, of that gala. And because we had sold more tickets than what our center holds, we had it at a place called BB Memorial Cathedral, which is in Oakland, which is a huge and famous African Methodist Episcopal church. Okay. And so I was my co-facilitator, we took a list, she did some things, I did some things. I was the one who was the intermediary between us and BB Memorial. Okay, so I went there and I signed the contract, and the contract was for a certain time, like from 10 to 1. Okay, that's what we were paying for. And then the musicians got in touch with me and said, well, we need a sound check. And so we need to get there at 9. Okay, fine. So I called and said we need a revised contract, okay? And the revised contract has to be 9 o'clock to 1, not 10 o'clock to 1. Okay. I signed the revised contract. I did not read the entire contract when I signed the revised contract. I didn't reread it. Come to find out, our ending time was 12:30. Okay, so yesterday we're in the process, Jan witnessed it, we're in the process here, and it gets to be about 12:15, and the office manager who I've been dealing with came to me and said, you know, you're finished in 15 minutes. Dr. Beckwith was in the heart of his speech, and then we had question and answers, and then we had book signing, and we had songs, we had a lot of other things, and so I, of course, did what I know to do, and first prayed, just stopped, breathed, and then let Spirit work it out through me, which was, I went to Reverend TJ, let him know, we have to let Reverend Beckwith know that we're finished here in a few minutes, okay? So it all worked out fine. We got finished by 12:30, and then he was so gracious as to, in the lobby, he signed books, he prayed with people, he answered questions, so everyone got what they came for. So, but why you got to listen to this whole long detailed story is, I then got to shine a high beam of awareness on myself and take responsibility for the fact that I did not reread the second contract. And I also got to shine a high beam of awareness, not only take responsibility, however, in all transparency and authenticity, I got to let the leadership team know last night about 10:30, this is what happened. I got to send an email and step into taking responsibility for what I had not done. And I don't call it a mistake, because I learned from Dr. Beckwith, a mistake is just a mistake. You can have another take, that's why I said that about you. It was error, and it was my oversight. However, the best part about it to me was that I got to shine that high beam of awareness on me, which is not an easy thing to do, to shine the high beam of awareness on ourselves, to really take a look at ourselves and say, oh, okay, all right, there was some part of the process that I was not conscious in. I was not in the moment. I was not in the now of this. So that's what I mean by shining the high beam of awareness. And I have to tell you, when I was rereading my notes last night and this morning when I got up in my prayer and meditation time, I thought, I don't know what example I'm going to use in my life for shining the high beam of awareness. However, I want to tell you all how I love you so that I feel very safe in sharing that exact story with you, because that's exactly what happened. And I don't know what the repercussions are going to be. However, it happened, it's finished, and now I get to remember to shine that high beam of awareness at all times, to remember whose and who I am, as well as take responsibility. And sometimes taking responsibility is not the easiest thing in the world. So, you know me, I like quotes and things like that. So I looked into Science of Mind textbook, and it said, the universe is alive, awake, and aware. And what is the universe but us? You know, God only reveals itself to us by revealing itself through us. Okay, so each one of us is goddess, God, Godlet, whatever words we want to use, so that to be able to know about these things, to be in the awareness, we get to remember we're alive, awake, and aware, because we are the universe expressing itself, because the universe needs each of us to function. If we weren't here, the universe would not function. Isn't that wonderful? Yes. I mean, it really, when I was raised, you know, as a Baptist girl, and so as a Baptist girl, this kind of talk was considered, whoa, like sinful, like, However, it's so wonderful, isn't it, to know that really the universe needs each and every one of us to function. Each and every one of us is a vehicle of its manifestation. And each and every one of us brings spectacularly individuated gifts. Every single one of us brings a gift. So the other thing that came to me is because we're talking about beams, it had me in the automotive frame of mind. What is the best route to get to high beam awareness? What is it? In what ways do we do it? Like I said, the how is about spirit. The fact that we are spiritual beings having a human experience means that each and every one of us, someplace inside of us says, well, what do I do? What is mine to be? In what way does this happen through me? So it dawned on me that the best way to get to the high beam of awareness is through our heart space. Because really every moment of every day, our heart is speaking to us. You know, it says in the Talmud that God is whispering to every blade of grass, grow, grow, grow. And I believe that, and I believe also that God, universal energy, source energy, spirit is speaking through our heart space. You know, because really if you stop and listen, if you have a decision to make, if you have awareness, if you stop and really listen, it's in your heart space. And then I was reading, I love Rumi, the poet Rumi, and I came across something that says, the entry door to the divine sanctuary lies within. And so just think the divine sanctuary entry door, I believe, is our heart. So if you take the time to get still and listen to what our heart is saying, it's giving us all the information we need. It's already all in there, our heart space. It's already all in our heart space. However, it requires us taking responsibility. It requires us knowing who and whose we are. And it requires taking the time. And even if that taking the time, because I know you're probably saying, well, Verona, it's the holiday season. I'm busy. Even if it means taking the time, just when you stop and take a breath. Just when you stop and be aware of, I mean, this magnificent machine that we carry spirit around in. If we're in the realization of stop, take a breath. And in that taking a breath, we can be in the awareness of what our heart space is telling us. Okay? We can get all the information we need because it's all within us. Michael Beckwith always says, in the question is the answer, and in the answer is the question. And when I first heard that, I thought, well, what a screwball thing to say. I really did. However, now I get it. Because whatever question we have, the question rises up because we're ready for the answer. Okay, whenever the question, and the answer is in there. And in the answer is the question. I mean, they're intermingled with one another. You know, they're like the light and the darkness. Thank you, Amy, that you were teaching us about, I don't know a lot about Advent, and so you were teaching us about Advent, and that this is the time that the light, you know, we get a chance to see, that the light shines so brightly, and we get to have a moment to stop and be aware of that. You know, because we on the planet Earth are coming upon that day, December 21st, which is the shortest day of the year. And what I find so interesting about that is it's just an illusion, because it just has to do with where this little blue ball we live on, where it is in space and time. because there is no darkness and there is no light. It's one and the same. So that light, the light of spirit that really beams itself, really radiates itself in and out of each one of us. It's there all the time. And this thing we're doing, is it called the solstice? This thing we're doing on the 21st of December, it's interesting because it's an illustration of that to me. That the light is always there. It's this old thing that we all know, but when you walk into a room and turn on the light, you're not turning off the darkness. We're just turning on the light. That's it. So the light actually is always, always there. So to shine the high beam of awareness, of course I got my Bible out, because I do love reading the Bible. I've admitted to you several times, I don't read it every day, but I read it a lot. And what the most thrill I get is, I have my mother's Bible. My mother's been on the other side for 4 years. And I have my mother's Bible, and what I like about it is she has all the notes in the margins. So sometimes if I want to look something up quickly, I just flip it open and start reading my mother's notes and see what it's about. However, and I'm sure she'd be happy to know that that's what I do, and I know that she and my father are in this room here with me, Mom and Daddy. So I know it. I know it's the thing to do. So I went in the Bible, and I found one of the Psalms, and the Psalm said, "Even in the darkness, light dawns for the upright, for those who are grateful, compassionate, and righteous." And so, thank you, Betty, for saying that word you used was an old word, because righteous is an old word. Because I was thinking, so exactly what does that mean to us now? And so I looked up in the dictionary, I was in a lot of New Thought books, and righteous, I decided, it came to me, means devoted. And so if we are devoted to ourselves, if we are devoted to our own consciousness, if we are devoted to shining the high beam, if we are devoted to taking responsibility, then the darkness and the light dawns for each one of us. So the ways that we, thank you, Amy, for telling me, or saying that our thought, think a peaceful thought today, one thought of peace. And I just want to interject, because if there's no, Edwin Gaines often says, there needs to be a safe place in your heart for everyone to walk through. Okay, so for me what that means is to have a complete countenance, inner and outer, of peace. Okay, so if we have just what Amy encouraged us to have, that countenance of peace, if we have that, have one single peaceful thought, then they all start one thought, another thought, another thought, another thought, another thought. When I'm out walking out and about, I pick up pennies on the street, because a lot of pennies add up. Because people throw pennies around, but pennies add up. I picked one up yesterday, and a gentleman said to me, "Yeah, a penny is the first step towards $1 million." So, and it is the first step. So that thought of peace is the first step. And what I'm saying is the first step towards being absolutely the essence of, the oneness with gratitude, compassion, and devotedness. And first we know that an attitude of gratitude shifts our life. It just does. An attitude of gratitude goes click, it activates the universal law. That attitude of gratitude makes everything change. Even when the gratitude is for something that you may not think is a blessing. We all have those things that you just may think, what is this about? Why did this happen? Holy Spirit, what's going on here? If we put an attitude of gratitude on it, it absolutely changes things. It flips it completely. It gives us so much more energetic in so many other ways. So first thing, to shine that high beam of awareness, like the Psalm says, in the darkness and the light, we are drawn upright. And this is, old world talking, old world terminology, but drawn upright to me means that we are grounded actually, and we come into our oneness with spirit. So the ways we can do this, shining the high beam of awareness in our lives, is with gratitude, compassion. And I mean compassion for someone even when you think they did something that was really snarky. Even when you think they did something that I found myself this week, just like on Friday going like this. And why did he do that? So even compassion for someone who does something like that, or you feel has done something like that, as well as, I don't want to leave out, compassion for the person you see in the mirror every morning. Compassion for the self inside of each one of us. Because I can be the hardest on myself. So really, really, really embrace and just let it flow through compassion for self. And because once we can be compassionate for ourselves, we can be compassionate easily, effortlessly, piece of cake for someone else. Okay? And the other way we can shine the high beam of awareness is by being devoted. And by devoted, I mean devoted to ourselves, devoted to our spiritual practices, devoted to our self-love, devoted to all those things that Spirit is devoted to us in. Because there's never a time that Spirit leaves us hanging out there alone. We all know this. We are always, always, always held in the everlasting arms. So, low beam, medium beam, high beam, we're all at choice. We get to choose which beam we utilize, which beam we are, and which beam absolutely positively moves us through life. Okay?